The fantasy football edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers where you can win 100 times your payout. That's right, turn $5 into $500 in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus up to $500. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for players, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. NBA is back as well, and so is the NBA Gambling Podcast. To celebrate, we're giving away a NBA Gambling Podcast hoodie. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA Dog for all of the details.
Muted.
Oh no, I was trying to save us from not being loud during the intro, and I muted myself to begin. Sorry, everybody. Welcome to the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Emerson Beery. Justin, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing good. Week 7 has been tumultuous, to say the least. Highs, lows, getting through by Mageddon on a pretty, even scale, on a, 1-to-1 for wins and losses. So, good, but not great. I could be better.
It's been quite a day today navigating my lineups. I have a lot of 10 deep dynasty leagues, and they are looking rough today. Fighting over the start-sit decisions of Ezekiel Elliott and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who did pay off today with a touchdown. It was a tough day today. The injuries, the bye weeks took their toll. Jamie, how you doing, my friend? Great to see you. Jamie's had a little bit of a rough day too, watching Foreman have such a great day in fantasy football ahead of his man Deshaun Johnson, who did not play. We're going to be talking some waiver wire action, though. To begin, Justin, Darrell Henderson back with the Rams. Royce Freeman. The presumptive coming into today, it was reported that Royce Freeman would get the most looks. However, both of them ended up having an okay day, especially when you consider just how in dire straits everyone was across the board. But, Royce Freeman was clearly behind Darrell Henderson, who got some of the pass catching work as well, got the touchdown, 13 points for Henderson. What are your thoughts on this backfield going forward? In my redraft leagues, I was picking up Henderson and Freeman today. I picked them both up. I'm probably going to drop back Henderson, but how much are you spending on Henderson this week?
Not a lot. I'm really not interested in this situation, to be perfectly honest with you. I still believe we could see some Zach Evans or Myles Gaskin somehow get into the mix here. You saw Henderson get the touchdown this week. Doesn't mean that even if they roll these two out next week, Freeman could be the guy falling into the pay dirt. So I'm gonna hold off from this situation. I think I can. I'm getting my guys back from bye. Maybe even some banged up guys, maybe like a David Montgomery can play next week or the week after. I'm going to hold off.
But, what else are we saving it for at this point? Kyron Williams out a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
I could see spending. If I was in really dire straits, I could see spending, $22 out of a $100 budget. What does that equate to? How much do you have left?
Yeah.
If I had $50
if you're desperate, sure.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. Maybe more of a $10, $12 bid, though, depending on how badly you need them. Kyren Williams certainly to come back and probably lead his backfield, but Kyren Williams is not some overarching great talent, presumptive talent who's like has a job waiting for him in most backfields. So because of that reason, there's always a chance if Henderson starts getting hot here and he keeps at least a major role in this backfield, it might not go back to just being Kyren Williams, depending on how these players play. Jamie in the chat, I like Emerson's breakdowns a little better on mute. Yeah, that's what a lot of people say. Although I did highlight
that to the 5% FOB rating.
I did say though before the show to Justin, 5 for 5 on my touchdown or flex players with touchdown opportunities article where I highlight some sleepers who are going to score touchdown this week. Went 5 for 5 this week.
That's going to help you buy a really nice wig come Christmas.
Deshaun Watson's not. I have an exit strategy. Deshaun Watson's not making it 13 games. I have an exit strategy. It's fine. Our 14 games.
He's only coming back. He keeps coming back.
I mean, I don't know. I think where we at, it has to be below 14, right? So for those of you who don't know, me and Justin have a head shaving bet. And the loser between who has the most points, fantasy points per game between Deshaun Watson or a little less fantasy points per game has to shave their head between Deshaun Watson and Jared Goff. I have Deshaun Watson. He has Jared Goff. I'm not feeling good about my bet. However, like I said, I see an exit strategy here. Deshaun Watson's going to miss a couple more games. Bet will be nullified. I don't know what we'll get into that a little bit later this week, but that was one of the crazier stories I've ever seen this week. But Cruz Garcia in the chat. 4-3 with Achane and Kyren on the bench. Any ideas for trades for either of these players? I also have Pollard, Gibbs, and Hubbard to hold me over if that's the best play.
Okay. I just don't see anyone nibbling on Achane or Kyren right now. An injured receiver. I mean, you're not getting back Justin Jefferson. I'm trying to think of who else could be coming back. Robert Wood, maybe. I mean, depending on how deep your league is. I mean, what's enough to nibble on a guy like that's not playing? That's tough.
Yeah, guys, it's tough in a redraft league to sell somebody who's a couple weeks out from playing, especially somebody making a trade probably wants to help their roster right away. What could Achane get you though?
Robert Woods.
I mean, you could see. I mean, if you're shooting for the stars, maybe try to get I think maybe you could get like an Isaiah Pacheco, somebody maybe like that.
Wow.
I don't know.
No way.
You don't think Achane would get that? With his two
Not
great
for a
games.
Healthy Pacheco. Did Pacheco get hurt today? Did I miss something?
Weeks. Somebody, maybe has a couple running backs. Like I said, I'd shoot for the stars to start off with. Achane looked like he was on the brink of a breakout. So
Jamie says Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson just got healthy. He just got back. There's no way.
Good one. I think Achane has a little bit more value in people's eyes than you may think, especially people are going to see him as a playoff winning running back, a championship winning running back down the stretch of the season. I'm holding him, and the bench spots are getting thin, and I'm trying to hold him throughout his IR spots here. And I also have David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert on that roster too. So I'm just like treading water, trying to get running backs healthy here. So we'll see if I know that's the case for everybody this year. We're going to keep it going though. More waiver wire topics over here. And if you want to, feel free to send me and Justin your questions for next week's show, on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, wherever you can find us. Up next here, as I pull up our next question, that is on D'Onta Foreman. He is 64% rostered, so fairly heavily rostered. He's probably rostered in most leagues, but Jake Dunlap in Reddit asks, how much are you spending on D'Onta Foreman this week, and what are your thoughts on his role with Roschon Johnson likely coming back to the lineup?
I mean, he's not going to score 3 touchdowns again, right? I mean, he just played his best game of the year. So you don't want to overreact too much. If you have a healthy amount of FOB, I'm not saying to spend it all on him, but he's someone that you're going to want. Herbert's still going to come back in a couple of weeks. It's really just how much you really need to spend on someone whose role will be reduced with, Roschon coming back. Now, I'll say that Roschon still didn't look amazing when Herbert was healthy. So I just think that Roschon will be more so of a nag for Foreman. So I still think that 20%, I think that was the answer last week. I think we talked about him last week. I think 20 to 25% is still just fine, because that's at least going to get you a couple of starts, potentially 2 wins for 25% is more than equitable.
I think he might be, if you're going to try to send something measured for Roschon Johnson, or not Roschon Johnson, D'Onta Foreman this week, I believe that Jamie, mute him, please. Right. I believe if you're going to try to send something for D'Onta Foreman, it's likely going to not work out. You're going to need to spend up this week for a guy who just scored 3 touchdowns. I'm not, if I wouldn't spend more than 22, probably I'd spend about $22 to $32 just depending on what my needs were at the running back position. I do think we saw Foreman actually take on a decent receiving role today, but when Roschon Johnson comes back, that's never been Foreman's forte.
I think the Justin Fields injury is probably more relevant to this situation, because with him out of the lineup, there's going to be less direct runs. He's going to, obviously not roll out as much. They're going to try to protect Tyson Bagent by just giving a lot of inside carries, which is exactly what they did today. So I expect that to continue even with Roschon Johnson. The problem is, I think that we need Roschon to catch some passes rather than just, take carries inside or out, because he's got a good engine, but it takes a second to get going. You know what I mean? He's not like the greatest first burst guy, but he's a good long runner. So if they can get him out into some space, do some pass catching, acting as like a little safety valve for Bagent, I think that could work out. Is that nice enough for you, Jamie? Is that good? Is that good enough, Jamie? Damn.
Roschon Johnson coming back. I still think D'Onta Foreman, they'll ride the hot hand, I believe, with D'Onta Foreman for a little bit.
And you don't get to play the Raiders every week either. So just keep that in mind.
So D'Onta Foreman probably a borderline RB2 for me, just based on the running back landscape, the way that it is. We'll take anybody with a pulse out there almost. So D'Onta Foreman, priority add, but you might not get him if you make more of a 10-bid waiver bid.
So next week they get the Chargers, who are very bad up against the run. That's a great matchup for Foreman. But then the week after, he gets New Orleans, who is one of the best teams up against the run. So you could have some potentially mixed results here these next couple of weeks.
Before we dive into some more waiver wire questions
and blocking, Jamie, I know.
I want to give one more shout out to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite football team all season long. Underdog has just introduced Scorchers. Go 5 for 5 and pick 'em Scorchers and enjoy a spicy 100 times your payout. And for a limited time, Underdog is extending the first deposit bonus up to $500. $100,000 Sundays continue on Underdog Fantasy. 10 lucky players will win $10,000 each. One of my continued favorite plays is taking the under on the big quarterback passing props: Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, although my boy Patrick Mahomes certainly delivered for those betting the over today. So watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash too on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit up to $500. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. All right, we're back to the waiver wire show here. Up next, Katie Garrett asks, is there anything to see with Kendrick Bourne today? And how much would you spend on him going forward if you were desperate at wide receiver? She was from Facebook. Kendrick Bourne, 7 targets today, 6 catches, caught a touchdown pass as well. Wide receiver 15 on the week so far. I think that was pre-Sunday Night Football. What are your thoughts on Kendrick Bourne? Do you see this as a guy who we've kind of seen these spike weeks come up and down a little bit? Although last week he was also the wide receiver 14, so on a little bit of a hot streak. So what are your thoughts on Kendrick Bourne?
No, he's been, respectably consistent this season. He's had some down weeks. Obviously, that's going to happen when you play for the Patriots, but he seems to really caught the attention of Mac Jones to be the wide receiver 1 of this roster. So, yeah, he definitely needs to be on your bench for sure. what to spend on him absolutely depends on your situation. Of course, the more dire, you spend more. I would spend upwards of 25% if I really need a receiver. If I'm hurting, if I have guys on injury, or I'm, I don't know about how many teams are on bye next week, but typically we should be having a fair amount of players coming back after, what do we miss? 6 teams today?
There's a week coming up where there's no buys. I think it might be next week. I'm gonna have to look. I haven't looked yet. That's so funny though. But like, there's a week literally, like there's this bye Mageddons, and then there's like 1 week with no bye weeks. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah, it's Kendrick Bourne. It's just he's gonna have his weeks, I feel like. But then you're gonna get so many dead weeks, you're gonna bench him, and then right when you bench him, he's gonna have another spike week because he was solid the last 2 weeks.
So play the matchups. I mean, obviously he's creating production for himself. I mean, Mac Jones has been terrible, so I'm not going to put this offense playing well because like Mac Jones somehow turned it on. I do think it's because Kendrick Bourne is better than what we think he is, and because they can run the ball. They just run the piss out of it with Zeke and Stevenson.
I mean, it's tough to. I don't know. I don't know if you can even depend on the matchup because Buffalo Bill is not a matchup that we would have predicted. Although they have lost a couple players for the year now on defense, so it could be softening up a little bit over there.
Yeah, their secondary is actually pretty weak.
Yeah, so tides could be changing a little bit there. Up next, we are highlighting Tyrod Taylor. Avram Pereira from Twitter asks, I'm in a super flex league. Tyrod Taylor still on the waiver wire. How much are you spending on Tyrod Taylor this week? Or if any at all, because Daniel Jones could be coming back in the very near future, but he wants to know. Right. He's not quite unsure about the Daniel Jones situation. What are your thoughts, Justin?
I would probably pick up Desmond Ridder. I like him more. It's a
super flex league. I mean, Desmond Ritter's probably rostered.
If that's all that's there, then you probably pick him up. But unless
is he going to even get one more week? I think he looks better than Daniel Jones, but is he even going to get one more week as the starter?
If Daniel Jones is healthy, they're going to roll him out. That's just what's going to happen. I mean, I agree with you. The offense has looked more productive with Tyrod Taylor, but I just don't see them continuing with him. He was practicing on a limited basis this week, so my guess is that he's probably back. But again, I'm just not that interested. Like, they were underwhelming today. Did they wind up winning 14-7? Was that the final?
Yes.
Ugh. Yeah,
it's ugly.
I was not a fan.
He throws a couple of dimes out there where you're like, geez,
you're not wrong. He makes a couple of really good looking throws and a couple of really smart plays. Like, I think that he has skills. It's just that I don't. No. Not on my fantasy team. I'm sorry.
Our third host in the chat, bringing the goods, Jamie. Week 8 and 12 have 0 bye teams, so we're all.
So there you go.
We're full.
So probably Kendrick Bourne is on your bench next week, most likely. But I do back to him. I do think we should have him on our benches. I think he has enough of a role and viability in his offense. He should be rostered.
Back to it next week with our full starting lineups. That'll be nice, except for probably the multitude of injuries every fantasy team has at this point. Tyrod Taylor, that was probably his last game. They're not going to bench Daniel Jones after giving him such a big contract. Daniel Jones, it's toughing it through a bad offensive line as well. They're going to give him more opportunities. So
if Josh Dobbs is available or Dan Jones, who would you take? Let's say Dan Jones is coming back or Josh Dobbs. Who would you pick?
Daniel Jones, because I believe Dobbs, the road's coming to an end here in the next week or two. Kyler Murray is returning. I put it out there today. NFL teams like money. And, it's like the NFL team. It's not a fantasy football team. It's not an NFL franchise on, Madden. These guys want to make money. They're not just going to tank. No teams are just going to full tank for Caleb Williams. You know what I mean? It's not. They're going to try to win football games. Kyler Murray's going to go back out there.
Damn best to do it.
People win football games. Okay, coaches are out there for their jobs. They're not going to lose football games on purpose. The players certainly are not going to do that. They're not going to. They're playing for the next contract. So they're always going to be trying. The front office wants to sell tickets. Nobody's out there tanking. Like you can do like the Arizona, like did the closest thing to that, trading a lot of their good players, but that's as close as they'll get. The people who are out there are going to win. They have Kyler Murray on the roster. He's going back out there. So give me Daniel Jones for sure. Going down the list here. I mean, this player is taken where in like leagues that I'm in, but I mean, he is showing up here as only 52% rostered on Sleeper. That's Josh Downs. Zay a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
From Reddit asks,
yeah,
how much are we spending on Josh Downs this week, and where is he in your fantasy football rankings going forward?
I think we talked about him last week. It's same thing, 20 to 25%, very, very easily. Yeah. I mean, not even blinking.
Now I'm there. I wasn't there last week, but now I'm there.
Did you see his touchdown play? It was a gorgeous play call.
Yeah, I really liked Josh Downs. I let the draft capital kind of see. There you go. Draft capital. I've taken a hit this year. As a draft capital guy like myself, I took a punch this year and coming off that a little bit. But I was a little discouraged. I thought he'd be in the second round pick, a high second round pick at that. But yeah, he's just as good the player that I thought he'd be. He's a terrific downfield threat despite his small size. We saw that at North Carolina. So very excited about Josh Downs. I'd absolutely spend upwards up. I know we're dwindling down. Nobody has $100 anymore, but at least if I had $50, I'd spend 20 on it, and I'd spend 22 to get him for sure, because he's one of those players I think you can depend on as a flex play moving forward. Moving on. Before we dive into our finishing waiver wire topics here, we want to give one more shout out to our friends over at Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets' revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as any unexpected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. And we're back. And of course, if you wouldn't mind, if you are still listening, if you wouldn't mind giving a like, subscribe, rating, wherever you may be listening, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, we'd really appreciate it. We're going to be diving into the rest of the waiver wire topics now, ad free, everybody. Moving down next on the list here, this makes me sad. Jonnu Smith. Gosh darn it.
Still happening.
This is from me.
It won't go away.
I added in this one. Jonnu Smith, 46% rostered on Sleeper. I mean, Arthur Smith's really laughing. I guess it turned out to be an illness, but I thought Arthur Smith was really messing with us today when we saw Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson out there getting all the touches instead of Bijan Robinson. But Kyle Pitts back down to the doghouse after a couple big weeks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Jonnu Smith is a thing. I hate to say it. It's almost now it's death, taxes, and Jonnu Smith having a solid tight end performance. So he's finished as a top, we can call it, if we go all the way back to week 2, he's a top 18 tight end every single week. So He hasn't killed you any weeks with a couple spike weeks. Are you interested at him at all in the waiver wires this week?
Not really. I own him in a few spots already. I've had him kind of filling in for some teams that have had bad injuries, bye weeks. So the only places where I've actually started him, I've actually put him in my flex because I've had guys like Andrews or Kelsey on those teams. So I would plug him in as a flex, and he would get me some, just like a decent amount of points, nothing crazy. I think he may have had a touchdown a week or two ago or something like that I cashed in on. It's not something that I expect to maintain. Oh my God, even saying that, it's just like, man, Arthur Smith, he just wants to ruin our lives. Just make general assumptions that, he will not allow to come true. He's like, oh, yeah, I think Jonnu Smith's the real deal. Watch this. But it's just such lack of confidence it just gives me. You know what I mean? Like, I would just feel better playing matchups like Tyler Higbee or Logan Thomas, just other random guys I can get. Gerald Everett has touchdowns in back-to-back weeks, although I think he may have left today with an injury. But I just think there's other names and players that I like more.
He appears to get a few catches a game, but it equates to not much. I think you can do better streaming, like you said. Not a lot of upside with Jonnu Smith. Unfortunately, he is just taking a couple targets away from Kyle Pitts, though. So Jonnu Smith,
it's a bummer.
Unless I was in a 2 tight end league or a heavy premium league, somebody I'm probably leaving off. Maybe a stash, but probably leaving on the waiver wire. Maybe just $1 or $2 if I was spending.
I will say the 1 week he scored me a touchdown. Like I think that may have been in week 4. I was 0-3, and he really helped me turn around one team. Like he helped me get a really crucial win, and I haven't lost since. So rallying back. Jonnu Smith.
Up next, had a little bit of a psych play from the Arizona Cardinals. Gave it to Damian Williams in week 6. Keontae Ingram, the presumed guy coming into week 8, healthy scratch. Damian Williams only gets 1 carry. Amari DiMercato back at it again, leading the running back room. Not a ton of production here, but did get 13 carries with 4 catches on his way to 9 fantasy points. I think that's half PPR. What are your thoughts on Amari DiMercato for going forward? I think we got a couple more weeks until James Conner comes back from IR. Can we get some solid starting weeks these next couple weeks?
I don't know about solid, but if you need a starter, I think that he's preferred. I think he's better than a handful of options.
How much are you spending?
15%. I don't see without a touchdown or a huge spectacle. Like if he's still available, then the other people in your league haven't bought in on him. If he's available, then they didn't buy in on him when he had a touchdown, or they gave up on him last week when he did nothing. I don't think you overspend on him. I think I go 15%.
Yeah, I tend to agree. 10 to 12% for me. I think these next couple weeks can be valuable, but if you have some other running backs, if you're especially, if you aren't going to fit him in your starting lineup this week, I wouldn't bother because, clearly, this kind of hot hand approach, I think the Cardinals will turn it back to James Conner as soon as he's healthy. So probably just a couple more weeks of DiMercato, and then we could end up seeing, you never know, the Arizona Cardinals could keep changing it up on us too. So not a priority ad for me, but somebody who's not like showing up on the trending hot names on Sleeper right now. So maybe you can get him for a small waiver bid or maybe for free this week. Tutu Atwell up next. Had a little bit of a rebound performance, mainly just due to the touchdown. Actually, all due to the touchdown. He only had 1 catch. Tutu Atwell, is it safe to say, I know he had an okay with this week because of the touchdown, but with Cooper Kupp back, this is more of a fringe roster player. But can Tutu Atwell go back on the waivers with Cooper Kupp back in the lineup?
No, I keep him on my bench. He's a good stash, kind of similar to like Zay Jones right now. Zay Jones has been hurt. You want to hold him on your roster because when healthy and when he has the role, production follows. So I want to hold on to him.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys who I'm just not sure you'll ever know when. I think he'll have a big week that reminds you, oh, he's talented. But then you're going to put him in your lineup the following week, and then it's going to be a dud. So
this was one of my calls this morning, Jamie. I called it anytime touchdown for Michael Wilson. So I feel you. I was expecting more from Wilson, Marquise Brown. Seattle just very bad up against the pass. Not today.
Kyler Murray coming back could be great. Thanks for Michael Wilson, for Marquise Brown. It's hard to know the Kyler Murray that we'll get, though. Possibly slightly less mobile, at least initially on. Maybe we don't see a full strength Kyler Murray back until 2024. Certainly a possibility. And at that point, it could be in a new uniform as well.
Damn.
I know it's crazy, but it's hard to pass up on a rookie contract, especially when you have a top 5 pick.
The Cardinals are just so bad. Like that's a terrible organization.
Yeah, and then you have all these new all the college players making all this money now. They're talking about holding out. They're like, oh, if we get, if it's Chicago or Arizona, we don't want to go there. Sorry.
I was on their show a week or so ago, and I had Adam Thielen. I did not lose.
Michael Wilson's going to be a good player. I liked him in the pre-draft process.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I expected him to score a touchdown this week, so hurts.
Yeah, I should have been listening to me, I guess. Read my article about touchdown players. Anytime touchdowns. I'm gonna have to monetize that this week. Like I said, I'm gonna be putting some money on it. Like I haven't been betting that much this year. I've had so much fantasy content, but I am going to parlay all of my touchdown players this week. I'm sure now I'll never get all of them again because I just blew it getting all 5 correct this week. So it won't ever happen again, I'm sure. But I'm gonna keep trying the rest of the season now. I had Flowers in 1-2 weeks ago. Zay Flowers he's coming on. If you're Zay Flowers, you have him in dynasty leagues, you're feeling pretty good right now.
Nice.
Gus Edwards up next here. Had a good showing this week. 14 rushes, had a touchdown, caught a big 80-yard pass as well. It's dire times. Sometimes, it's DEFCON 4 for fantasy players with the running back position at this point. As a fantasy guy who, we rank players, once you get past the top 10 running backs, you're like, who? It's just like anybody with a pulse at that point. So considering that, is Gus Edwards a priority ad this week?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if this Ravens offense can play like this every week, I mean, my goodness, Gus Edwards will be a league winner if he's somehow still available. He's certainly not available in any of my leagues, but he's someone that I was high on. He was in my top 5 for most exposed running backs in Best Ball Mania this year. So someone that I'm definitely have a strong belief in. But, this offense just has to keep rolling. Like we've obviously seen it stall in past weeks. Have not been a fan of the Todd Monken offense thus far. Today, he showed us a glimpse of what the offense can be. If they maintain these type of levels, then yeah, I mean, Gus Edwards is going to be a massive, massive addition to your roster. But regardless, you just want to get him because of how this team runs the ball so much. It's still a big priority of what they do and who they are. They're going to move the ball down the field. They're going to get in the red zone. You're just going to have a few of those games. I still feel like they're going to stall, but in those games, you're still running the ball a lot. So give me some Gus Edwards. Easy.
Another very polarizing player up next. With the tight end position the way that it is, the dire straits that we're in, you can't get anybody out there, other than the top 5 or 6 guys. You're pretty much just banking on a touchdown. Taysom Hill. Back at it again. Taysom Hill, a couple big weeks in a row, only 13% rostered on Sleeper. But tight end 4 this week, tight end 9 the week before. Are we seeing another Taysom Hill emergence? Are you targeting him if you're desperate at tight end?
I guess so. I mean, you still don't know when to start him. So you have to
Maybe it's now. Maybe now's the time.
Maybe. I mean, they are using him quite a bit. He's getting a lot of receptions. Last week, I think he led the team in receptions, not this week, but the week prior. So yeah, they're using him. He's definitely been a crutch. The one of the backup QBs has been a crutch to the starting QB. Wild. It's just tough for me. Again, it's kind of similar to Jonnu Smith. Like, yeah, it's there. Like you should believe like, oh, there's some type of safe floor, but it just also feels like a situation where I could land with a goose egg or 1 to 3 points, which I guess isn't so dissimilar to tight ends. I mean, like Cole Kmet today, he put up a goose egg. You know what I mean? You don't expect that, right? So you could just as easily say, oh, well, I have Cole Kmet. He's in a good situation. He'll play a lot of snaps. Yeah, of course I'll start him over Taysom Hill. And then this week happens. and you hate yourself.
Hill.
You break all the mirrors in your house.
Taysom Hill not that far off from most tight ends. Boom and bust, as most of them are. So.
Yeah. But again, I just don't think that you're going to have the confidence like, oh, yeah. This is the week I'm starting him for sure. Yeah, for sure. Taysom Hill, it's happening again. It's just not going to be there. So tread lightly. Yeah, I mean, again, if you're desperate, yeah, of course it's a good ad. Look what he's doing. He's had a good past couple of weeks, but it just also feels like that production can fade as fast as it came.
It will fade as fast as it comes, but Like I said, you might want to ride the hot hand. I'll have a hard time putting him outside my top 15 or 16 guys. So if you're desperate next week, I might be firing him up in lineups, see if we got a little bit of a hot streak. It's gonna go back again. It always does for Taysom Hill, but
yeah,
I might ride the hot hand. Another interesting player, McCole Hardman. First game back with the Chiefs this week. Pretty quiet. Played special teams for the most part. Had a big return on Kansas City's final drive. And then caught a big pass too. On third down. Made a big play. What are your thoughts on McCole Hardman moving forward? This is obviously maybe not a priority ad, but maybe a sneaky ad. Are you stashing McCole Hardman? Because, the Chiefs wide receiver room is begging for a playmaker. Was McCole Hardman's first game back, so maybe not surprising to see he didn't play much on offense, but what are your thoughts?
No, if I'm desperate, I'm willing to spend up to 15%. He knows this offense. He knows Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They brought him back because of just how uncertain they are at the wide receiver position. Like, they are not in love, obviously, with the replacements of the old wave of wide receiver talent, like Hardman, like Tyreek Hill, Kadarius Toney, even Rashee Rice, not necessarily getting it done. So I think they want to, get some more depth that's familiar with the system. And yeah, I believe his role will grow as the weeks go on, because again, just you're not getting any consistency out of the position. And I think that's what they're looking for out of Mecole. And that's why they literally, they trade a 6th-round pick for him. That's not cheap. That's not cheap in the NFL trade market by any means. Like, I feel like you could get Kirk Cousins for a 5th, getting Mecole Hardman for a 6th, I think, is dirt cheap, especially for, again, you're getting a guy that knows what you like to do and has a connection with your starting quarterback. So I think you'll love to see what you saw this first week back. This morning on our starter sit show, we were talking about, not starting him, but to stash him. And this is exactly what I'm going to say right now. Yeah, definitely get him on your roster. I don't know if that means you start him in week 8, but I think you definitely want to have him on your team, because heck, man, you see any sort of injury whatsoever to that group, any extra snaps that you can get in that offense as a receiver, those are high value snaps. So yeah, definitely want to target some Mecole Hardman. Like I said, if you're desperate, upwards of 15%. You probably don't have to spend that, but the more you have, the more likely I'm spending 15%.
More of a sub 5% bid for me.
Yeah.
I still might be a guy I think you might be tough to depend on, but I'm hoping the best for the Chiefs here. I do think there's plenty of opportunity for McCole Hardman. I do think he's going to make a couple big plays. I don't know if it'll be a regular part of the offense, though. So once again, it could just be another tool that we add in where Patrick Mahomes just picks a different guy every week, and it's kind of been like that these last 2 seasons, other than, of course, Travis Kelce. Another guy coming, Jalen Hyatt caught a couple big passes this week. 5 targets, caught just 2 balls, but 75 yards on
one was a touchdown.
Yep. Caught a touchdown.
By the way, Mecole Hardman's going to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl this year, just so you know.
Already predicting the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I like it. But Jalen Hyatt, are you considering putting a bid on him this week? Obviously, still just the wide receiver 31.
I don't want anything to do with Giants wide receivers anymore. I thought it was going to be Isaiah Hodgins. I was wrong. Then I thought it was going to be Darius Slayton. I was wrong. Everyone this morning was harping on me about Wan'Dale Robinson. I think Wan'Dale Robinson is not very good. Jalen Hyatt scores the touchdown. Looked good. But to me, it's all about the connection with the quarterback. It seems like Taylor may have a little bit more chemistry with some of the guys that maybe he's taken a few more throws with. The second and third team, right? Like Wan'Dale, like Jalen Hyatt. I would have liked to have seen Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins work out for this offense, but there's no rhyme or reason to the production of this receiving group. I don't want anything to do with them. No, thank you. Especially in redraft. I've drafted Jalen Hyatt in Dynasty, but no thanks. Where's Paris Campbell?
Where is Paris Campbell? I thought he was going to have a good season. Yeah,
there could be a cartoon. Where in the world is Paris Campbell?
Oh, it's been tough. It's for Giants wide receivers. If they were going to perform, though, it would have been this week against the absolutely terrible Commanders defense, and that's all they got. So I think that was it. I think Jalen Hyatt, that was going to be his boom week. and he'd really just kind of had he would have been had potential to be a huge week. Almost caught that touchdown pass, like you said, but unfortunately, I don't know if you'll see too many of those days ahead of him here. This next topic is a little tough, a little personal for me, obviously, with our bet. Do you think Deshaun Watson at this point is droppable in your one quarterback leagues?
Deshaun Watson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on the waivers in all my one quarterback leagues,
Okay.
Emerson. What are you talking about? That's exactly where he is. He stinks. He's bad. He's awful. Like what? Like he's not good.
No, and whatever's going on here, this interesting I don't know. I've never quite seen anything like it with a starting quarterback who a team consistently puts out information that they have they've cleared you to go out there and he hasn't played. It's very interesting. I don't know if it was the coaches today. I don't know if there's something been out in the last hour or two that I haven't read. I don't know. Reportedly it was the coach's decision. They decided to roll with him, or I don't know. It could have been Deshaun Watson's decision. He was out there
typically in a situation like that, the quarterback is like, "Yeah, I'm playing. Yeah, I'm playing because I'm Kobe. Yeah, because I'm Jordan. Yeah, I'm the king of the world." Nah, bro, you are not good at all.
Patrick Mahomes goes out there and plays football no matter what. Deshaun Watson, I don't know what to make of it. It's just such an interesting situation.
Well, with that QB documentary, we see exactly what Patrick Mahomes is doing every single day of the week, going into all that deep preparation. All that we know about Deshaun is he likes to get a good rub down between Sunday and Sunday. So,
Deshaun Watson clearly, and I think maybe, you lose some of that like hardened tissue, kind of that calluses a little bit after taking some time off. But he's really, really doesn't like getting hit anymore. Really,
I think he lost that dog in him, bro.
He did.
I think he lost that dog in him.
That's exactly it. He doesn't have it.
He's a little puppy ass bitch right now, man. I mean, like he's just throwing just blatant interceptions. Like when I keep bringing up that interception, and maybe it was week 1 or week 2 where he threw it right in the guy's chest. He did it again today. I'm like, I didn't think that was possible. Like, those are meme interceptions. Like, they go up into the cloud, they stay there, and we all enjoy in laughter from his embarrassment. He's lost it, man. He is not the same Deshaun Watson. It's over. It's over. The only place where he could go and he would be fixed and he would be fine is the San Francisco 49ers. And there is a no vacancy sign on the door. Sorry. They've got their guy.
In a long term, yeah, I think you can drop him in quarterback leagues, but in long term, it's just like, what else are the Browns going to do? They have to start him. They have to play him. Like, he's going to be out there.
They should have gotten more invested in the Aaron Rodgers market and not the Deshaun Watson market.
I always tell people I get where the Browns are coming from. They were tired of sucking. They had been terrible for so long. Deshaun Watson had eliminated them from contention.
Let's spend a lot of money and do little to no homework on the project.
I mean, what's the homework? He was a top 5 NFL, arguably, maybe even the second best quarterback in the NFL 2 or 3 years ago. What?
Come on.
Not remember Deshaun Watson? Oh.
Come on. Yeah, you remember Deshaun Watson, but what you're getting, what you're paying for, are you paying for yesterday's groceries or tomorrow's profit?
The last time he was on an NFL field, he was spectacular. And that was with the Houston Texans.
NFL GMs have a different. Okay. I guess what I'm getting at here is that NFL GMs have a different level of information gathering than you, me, or Sally Morris from WGN News. Okay, like, they have more information on these guys than we are ever going to know.
Them in the backyard.
They have that shit going on, dude. Come on now. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. When you're an organization that spends that much money, yeah, you do that type of investigation. In
shorts. There's nothing that would have signaled you this kind of dramatic drop off, other than players traditionally struggle after that kind of big layoff.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I get it. Like, it made sense to me, the move. I know people always dogged him out because they didn't like him morally, and I totally got that argument. However, for just winning purposes, I thought it made sense. You had to go get your guy because no one was ever going to come to Cleveland to play quarterback. No, he had eliminated them. The only reason he even considered.
So we have to get the black eye of the NFL because no one's going to do it. Again, they should have gave the house to Aaron Rodgers. Like, hey, we're going to name a section of the stadium after you or something. You know, like Aaron's dog pound or whatever. Like. They should have gave him ownership like Caleb Williams is asking for. I don't know. They should have gotten more creative and gotten him and or Tom Brady when he was available X amount of years ago. It's their own fault. It's their own fault. Browns are going to brown.
Deshaun Watson. Maybe
the Cleveland shits.
The only thing Deshaun Watson can do to make himself up to me is sit out 2 more games. And give me an exit strategy.
The magic number. We found it. We're here. We've made it. You have the magic number.
I need Deshaun Watson to sit out 2 games so this bet can be invalid. Is what I
imagine. He sits out next week and then doesn't sit out the rest of this season.
No, I need it. I have to have him sit out 2 more weeks. I have to have him sit out 2 more weeks. In fact, I might make an appeal to a circuit judge that this last week shouldn't count because of
it counts. It's
not
a start.
Enough snaps. It's
a start. It's a start.
He hardly played.
It's a start.
I don't know. I'm gonna make an appeal to a circuit judge on
if he comes in for who is it? PJ Walker? Is that who's playing in front of him? Who's playing in front of him now? Taylor?
PJ Walker.
PJ Walker, whatever. Yeah. So if he starts the game and Watson comes in, doesn't count. It's only game started. GS.
All right, fair enough. All right, pray for me, everybody, that I can get out of this bed and still have my hair come to December.
Hey, Jared Goff didn't have an amazing day, so I mean, it could be a lot worse.
We're gonna wrap it up here for the Waiver Wire Show. Justin, is there anything that you want to shout out that you're working on coming up?
I really hope Calvin really can score more fantasy points next week. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to help him help me. Help us all.
That's another thing. Yeah. Calvin Ridley, just a wide receiver 3 now, you know, bust a little bit.
How are you a wide receiver 3 when you have a catch for 5 yards? Makes you like a wide receiver 11. Like, Jamie, got one last question.
Bring it in, Jamie. Bring us one last question. Yeah. Calvin Ridley, been a tough year. I think, boom or bust wide receiver 3, but that boom game's coming. Like next week, I would bet that he's due. He's going to have a big week within the next 2 weeks.
Kenneth Walker, easy.
I won my zombie matchup, so I get a player from my opponent. Should I steal Kenneth Walker or Keenan Allen?
It's Walker all day. I mean, I guess it's based on your need too. Keenan's great, but bro,
it literally comes down to need for me. Like
Walker got 26 carries today. Are you kidding me?
I love Kenneth Walker. No one loves Kenneth Walker as much as I do. I've talked him up all offseason. However, it's just Keenan Allen, just you win the running backs. We've seen it with this year so many times. You might, you could lose Kenneth Walker next week just with how the running back position the way it is. Getting a dependable, locked in wide receiver 1 right now, like Keenan Allen, that's tough for me. Like it really comes down to positional need for me. Whichever I'd be happy with either one. Like it would just whatever position group you want to make a little stronger, but I would heavily consider Keenan Allen. I really would. If I take Walker this week and win next week, I can steal AJ Brown next week. Jamie thinking ahead too. Ooh, that's exciting. I
like that a lot. I say go Kenneth.
The idea of that. I go either one. Like I'd be happy with either one for sure. Absolutely, Jamie. Thank you, my friend, for checking out the show. Thank you everybody for listening. Cruz, thank you for your question earlier, checking out the live stream. Everybody else who checked it out, we appreciate you. Have a great week, everybody. We'll be back with the Waiver Show next Sunday night. And be sure to check out all these guys on the SGPN Fantasy Football Network all week because they have a show almost every single day. Talking dynasty, redraft, everything you could possibly think of. So take it easy, everybody, and have a great week. All right. See you soon.